I never thought I'd be afraid of my own home, but that's what it became, a silent, expensive cage. From the outside, our house looked perfect. White fences, a manicured lawn, a porch swing that creaked softly when the wind passed through. Inside, it was marble floors, designer furniture, and $1,000 rug that my husband, Daniel, insisted we needed for the aesthetics. But the truth hid behind the walls, the truth of a marriage that looked polished but was rotting from the inside. Daniel wasn't a monster in the way people imagine. He didn't scream, didn't throw things, didn't hit. His cruelty was quieter, more surgical, the kind that makes you question if you're the crazy one. When we first met, Daniel was charming, effortlessly intelligent, confident, the kind of man who could make you feel like the only person in the room. He was a financial analyst, always dressed sharp, his cologne crisp and expensive. I was a teacher, not rich, not glamorous. But he made me feel like I was enough. For a while, we were happy, or I thought we were. Then small things began to change. He'd correct the way I spoke at dinner parties. He'd buy me clothes 2 sizes too small and say, motivation to stay in shape. He'd make decisions about our house, our vacations, even my job, without asking me. Whenever I confronted him, he'd smile that calm, patient smile and say, "You're overreacting, Claire. You always do." And just like that, I'd start doubting myself again. It was a Friday night, one of his company's big events, a celebration dinner for his promotion. I wore a black dress, simple but elegant. He had picked it, of course. At the restaurant, he introduced me to his boss, a woman named Vanessa, stunning, confident, with a laugh that filled the room. They were too close. The way his hand lingered on her back, the way her eyes softened when she looked at him, it made my stomach twist. When I mentioned it later in the car, Daniel's expression turned cold. "You embarrassed me," he said quietly. "You always find a way to ruin things." He didn't speak to me for 2 days. Not a word. And when he finally did, it was only to say, "Maybe if you weren't so insecure, people would like you more." That night, I sat in the bathroom with the lights off, crying silently so he wouldn't hear. That was the moment I realized I wasn't loved. I was managed, controlled. Months passed. I learned to stay quiet, to keep peace. I told myself I was strong, that marriages had ups and downs. But deep down, I knew I was losing myself. Then one afternoon, while cleaning Daniel's office, I found an unlocked drawer. Inside were printed hotel receipts, 2 nights in Chicago, 1 in Miami, all charged to his company card. But what froze me was the note on one of the receipts. A message written on hotel stationery in a woman's handwriting. "Thank you for the weekend, my love. Volt. Vanessa." The world went silent. I sat there for almost an hour staring at that paper, the ink blurring as my tears hit it. The man I'd given everything to, my time, my love, my faith, had betrayed me in the most humiliating way possible. And the worst part, I wasn't even surprised. I didn't confront him. Not yet. You don't face a snake without a stick. Instead, I started observing. Every night he said he was working late, I took notes. Every expense, every receipt, I copied. Every text message I could catch on his unlocked phone, I forwarded to myself. He had no idea. I also called a lawyer, a woman named Sarah Coleman, a sharp, calm professional who listened to my story without a flicker of judgment. "Claire," she said, "if he's been using company funds for personal affairs, that's not just adultery, that's corporate fraud. And if we can prove emotional abuse, you can walk away with everything." Everything. The word tasted new, powerful. A week later, I invited Daniel to dinner. Candlelight, wine, his favorite pasta, everything perfect. He looked at me suspiciously. "What's this about?" "Us," I said softly. I wanted a night to talk. We ate, we drank. He relaxed. Then I slid an envelope across the table. Inside were the copies, hotel receipts, emails, text messages. He froze. What is this, Claire? Proof, I said. Proof that the perfect husband is a liar. He laughed, cold, sharp. You think this changes anything? You have nothing. You're a school teacher. You can't afford to leave me. I smiled for the first time in months. You're right. I can't afford to leave you. But your company can't afford to keep a man who uses corporate funds for romantic getaways. His face drained of color. You wouldn't. I already did. 2 days later, Daniel's world collapsed. HR called him in. An internal audit began. Vanessa's name came up. The company launched an investigation for misuse of funds and ethical violations. He came home furious, slamming doors, shouting that I had ruined his life. No, I said quietly. You ruined it yourself. I just stopped cleaning up your mess. That night, he packed a bag and left. The divorce was fast. Sarah was brilliant. She proved everything: the emotional manipulation, the financial control, the affair, the fraud. Daniel lost his job, his reputation, and eventually his house. I got the home, the savings, and my peace. For months afterward, he tried to call, to guilt me, to beg. We can fix this, Claire. We can start over. I never answered. Because some things, once broken, are better left in pieces. A year later, I sat on the same porch swing that had once felt like a cage. The wind moved gently through the trees. I poured myself a glass of wine, red, dry, the kind Daniel hated. I raised the glass to the sky and whispered, to peace, to freedom, to never doubting myself again. And for the first time in years, I smiled without fear, because justice had been served, and I had delivered it myself. Epilogue. 3 months after the divorce, I got a letter from Daniel's old company. A brief, formal note. Mrs. Claire Mason, we appreciate the information you provided. As a result of your courage, we've implemented new ethics protocols to protect future employees. I folded the letter, tucked it into a box labeled past, and put it away for good. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about reclaiming what they stole, your peace, your power, your sense of self. And that night, as I watched the sunset paint the sky gold, I realized something simple but true. I didn't just win. I was finally free.